What's been your reaction to the murder of George Floyd and to the protests we've seen in his name?
Well, I think like just about everyone else, I was horrified to see the videos of that blatant and callous murder taking place, and almost as horrified to see the other officers just standing there and not stopping this. As far as the protests are concerned, I'm very proud of the people who engage in peaceful protests. That's one of the pillars, one of the foundations of our nation, and we should always protect that. It's those who have taken advantage of that, hidden behind it, destroyed the livelihoods of the very people that they claim to be in favor of. Those are the things that are particularly bothersome. And, you know, as far as, you know, Black Lives Matter is concerned, I hope that maybe this is the beginning of being concerned about the many young black men who will be killed in the streets of Chicago this weekend. We need to be just as concerned about them as we are about anybody else. And until we begin to manifest that kind of concern, I don't think we are quite where we need to be yet.
This week you called for everyone to just take a step back on both sides. I'm quoting you now. Don't use every opportunity to criticize someone else and to try to make them into the demon and just hurl insults at each other. That's not helpful. You just talked about how you don't like to demonize people. 3 days after you said that, though, the president retweeted a video clip that featured conservative personalities talking about George Floyd's past drug use, his arrest record. One of them said, quote, "The fact that George Floyd has been held up as a martyr sickens me. George Floyd was not a good person," unquote. I know that you didn't retweet this, but the president did. Does that help the nation heal?
What will help the nation heal is if we will engage in dialogue together. Let's not make the solution be a Democrat solution or a Republican solution. Let's make it be an American solution and recognize that our country is extraordinary. This is the destination country for other people. People form caravans trying to get in here, other places they're trying to get out of. There's a reason for that, and we need to make sure that we preserve that. No one from the outside can bring us down. Not China, not Russia, not Iran. No one can, but we can destroy ourselves internally. There's no question about that. A house divided against itself cannot stand. We, the American people, are not each other's enemies. We must be smart enough to recognize that and not allow ourselves to be manipulated into thinking that we hate each other and destroying ourselves.
I guess, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with anything, but you're calling for healing, you're calling for understanding, you're calling for people to listen to each other. And President Trump is retweeting a video in which people are attacking the character of a man, an unarmed black man who was murdered in the streets by a white police officer while 3 other officers stood there, which you said horrified you. It horrified me. It horrified probably everyone who saw it within reason. And doesn't it hurt the country and this idea that we need to have dialogues and conversations and respect each other when the president is sharing and, in some cases, offering incendiary statements?
I believe you're going to be hearing from the president this week on this topic in some detail. And I would ask you maybe to reserve judgment until after that time.
Let's talk about policy. Do you think systemic racism is a problem in law enforcement agencies in the United States?
Let's say this. I grew up at a time when there was real systemic racism. I remember as an 8th grade student, I was the only black student. I got the highest academic achievement, and the teacher got up and berated the other students. They weren't trying hard enough because a black kid was number one. And that kind of thing was not uncommon when I was growing up. That kind of thing is very uncommon now. Are there still racists around? Absolutely. There were yesterday, there are today, and there will be tomorrow, you know. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't fight it. And this is an opportune time right now. People are concentrating on this. We can't let this moment slip away. You know, we need to deal with some of the issues in the police departments. But it's an easy time to do it. You know, we have policemen who are rogue. The vast majority of policemen are wonderful. But you have some who are rogues, and they can go from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction, and nobody does anything about it. They can be wearing body cameras. There are things that can be done, but we need to come to mutual solutions about this, and now is the time to do it. Everybody's concentrating on it. Let's not let this moment slip away. At the same time, we must be very vigilant about these groups of anarchists who destroy the livelihoods of the very people that they claim to be trying to help. Let's not be fooled. Let's not be seduced into accepting silly things that make absolutely no sense because we want to honor somebody. But let's just make sure that we think this thing through. Think about the consequences. You want to abolish police departments? Are you kidding me? What happens if you do that? Everybody goes out and arms themselves. They start hiring vigilante groups to protect them. We have total chaos going on. You know, that makes absolutely no sense.
The country's talked a lot about this week about the proper way to protest. You've talked about it too. The NFL admitted on Friday that they, quote, were wrong for not listening to NFL players earlier and encourage all to speak out and peacefully protest, unquote.